Today, we are talking about a force so destructive it can bring down empires, tank companies, and completely sabotage our own best interests, usually without us even noticing. We're talking about the hidden enemy of every good decision, our own ego. So, picture this. You've got a company valued at a staggering $47 billion. It is the absolute talk of the town, on the verge of a massive, world-changing IPO. The future couldn't look brighter. And then, poof! In what feels like the blink of an eye, it all just comes crashing down. That massive valuation, it evaporates. The IPO is dead on arrival, and the company is basically left in ruins. Just a complete and total catastrophic failure. So what happened? Was it a sudden market crash? A terrible product flaw that nobody saw coming? Did a competitor just pull off a brilliant move? I mean, what on earth could cause a $47 billion company to collapse practically overnight? Well, the answer is kinda simple and honestly, pretty devastating. The collapse was driven almost entirely by one person's unchecked ego, a founder who got so high on his own supply, so convinced of his own genius, that he completely lost his grip on reality. Okay, so let's get right into it. The company we're talking about is, of course, WeWork. And its story is like a modern version of the ancient myth of Icarus, right? The guy who flew way too close to the sun on wings made of wax and then came crashing down to Earth. This isn't just a business case study, it's a huge warning sign about what happens when you let ego take the wheel. And here's the thing, this warning, it is anything but new. For literally thousands of years, across every culture, every continent, every belief system you can think of, the wisest people have all pointed their fingers at the exact same dangerous flaw in human nature, pride. This piece of ancient wisdom from the book of Proverbs just nails it. Long before there were business schools or psychology textbooks, our ancestors knew, deep down, that a big, inflated ego is always the first step toward disaster. What's so wild is seeing how the same message just echoes across totally different worlds. You had the Stoics in ancient Rome, who saw ego as the #1 source of suffering. In the East, Buddhism teaches that this attachment we have to our self is just a big illusion that keeps us in the dark. Confucianism says that real knowledge actually starts when you admit what you don't know. And in Islam, pride is seen as so dangerous that it's the sin that caused Satan's fall from grace. It's the same lesson everywhere you look. And hey, it's not just ancient wisdom anymore. Modern science is now putting the data behind what philosophers have been telling us for centuries. Psychologists have actually pinpointed the exact mental glitches, these cognitive biases that our ego uses to systematically trick us. You've probably heard of one of the most famous ones, the Dunning-Kruger effect. It's this wild paradox where the people who know the least about something are often the most confident that they're experts. Meanwhile, the actual experts are way more likely to know just how much they still have to learn. And this chart just lays it out perfectly. You see that first peak on the left? They call it Mount Stupid. It's where your confidence is sky high, but your competence is, well, not. It's only after you start learning more that your confidence starts to match reality. And you can bet our ego loves hanging out on that first peak. But Dunning-Kruger is just the start. Our ego has a whole bag of tricks. You've got the overconfidence effect, where, in a mathematical impossibility, 74% of us think we're better than average. Then there's the bias blind spot, which is why we're so good at seeing everyone else's flaws but not our own. The self-serving bias makes us think every success is because we're brilliant and every failure is just bad luck. And confirmation bias, well, that just puts a filter on reality so we only see stuff that proves we were right all along. It's a dangerous cocktail of self-deception. Billionaire investor Ray Dalio, a guy who has made a fortune by being ruthlessly rational, puts it about as bluntly as you can. These mental traps aren't just fun facts for a psychology class. They have massive, real-world consequences, especially when big money is on the line. So, this is where the rubber really meets the road. When you look back at the history of business, you start to see two very different stories playing out over and over again. You've got the companies that were wrecked by ego and the ones that actually thrived because of humility. On that path of hubris, you have giants like Enron. Their whole culture was built on arrogance, and it led them straight into one of the biggest frauds in history. Or think of Nokia. They were so proud, so sure of themselves, they basically dismissed the iPhone as a toy and missed the entire smartphone revolution. And of course, WeWork. But then, you look at the other side, the path of humility. You've got Satya Nadella turning Microsoft from a know-it-all company into a learn-it-all company. You've got Warren Buffett, whose entire strategy is based on admitting what he doesn't know. Okay, so we've seen the problem everywhere, from ancient myths to modern boardrooms. We get it. The billion-dollar question is, what can we actually do about it? So let's get into a practical toolkit that you can start using right away.
All right, here are 6 concrete steps to help you sideline your ego. Number 1, always focus on the goal. Ask, what's best for the mission, not what makes me look smart. Number 2, rely on facts, not feelings. Cold, hard data is basically ego's kryptonite. 3, actively seek out the truth, especially when it's uncomfortable. Get someone to play devil's advocate, whose only job is to poke holes in your ideas. 4, and yeah, this one is tough, learn to admit your mistakes and actually thank the people who point them out. It turns a hit to your ego into a priceless lesson. 5, practice empathy. Genuinely try to see the problem from everyone else's shoes. And finally, number 6, separate the idea from the person. That way you can have a ruthless debate about ideas without anyone feeling like they're being personally attacked.
When you boil it all down, it comes back to this amazing, powerful paradox from Socrates. Real wisdom, real strength, and real clarity, they don't come from pretending you have all the answers. They come from having the humility and the courage to admit that you don't.
So, the next time you have a big decision to make, whether it's at work or in your personal life, just pause for a second and ask yourself this question. Are you making this choice based on facts, on the real goal, with an open mind? Or is your ego whispering in your ear, just telling you exactly what you want to hear? The answer to that question could literally change everything.